Okay, hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is a video within a video. We'll be looking at this video called A Creature That Can't Be Killed. Let's look at it.
Astronomers regularly discover new exoplanets, and at this point have already discovered several thousand, many hypothetically suitable for life. Of course, according to just preliminary calculations. It was announced recently that, like Tatooine in Star Wars, life is theoretically possible even on planets from binary stars. In general, we are always looking for answers to the same question. What makes a planet habitable? And what exactly is necessary for the birth of life on some strange, godforsaken world? But I'm wondering, have you ever thought about how to extinguish this very same life? What cataclysms can return a planet to the state of a dead orb in space? How tenacious is life on a planet? The Earth has suffered at least 5 periods of mass extinction during its lifetime. Fear factors also exist on our blue planet today. Catastrophic climate change or nuclear war could destroy, if not all living things, at least most of the diversity of species on the planet. However, if there are at least some living organisms remaining on the planet, evolution will get another chance. So who or what is the most tenacious form of life? A number of organisms, which are quite difficult to discern, take precedence in this sordid business. Some species of bacteria manage to survive in shale oil fields, or in water saturated with sulfur compounds. And, fascinatingly, these bacteria create a favorable environment for the restoration of the ecosystem after volcanic eruptions. Extremophiles, as they are known, or their remains, are planned to be searched for on Mars. In NASA's program for the Mars 160 project, participants learned to detect alleged Martian lichens, depolitans, which are cyanobacteria and algae inside or just under transparent rocks, and halophiles, organisms that like salt. So, according to scientists, there is a chance that these representatives of the living world will be able to survive under the harsh Martian planetary and atmospheric conditions. Interestingly, the inhabitants of this microcosm are quite capable even of traveling in space, and there is some speculation that individual microorganisms were brought to Earth from Venus. A curious experiment has been conducted at the International Space Station for the 7th year now, where samples are taken during spacewalks from the station's outer covering, and biologists have found fragments of DNA of various microorganisms in these samples, and in 70% of the samples they found typical terrestrial and marine bacteria. The ionospheric elevator hypothesis was confirmed, according to which the smallest particles of dust and sea salts from the Earth's surface enter the upper ionosphere. And if these spores survive in such conditions, then the upper limit on the existence of life expands noticeably beyond our terrestrial atmosphere. Harsh conditions in space, as might be seen, for example, after a serious space disaster, affect complex organisms more than simple ones. Planarians, also known as flatworms, can reproduce asexually, dividing their bodies from side to side into two, and are able to regrow missing tails and even heads if so desired. But it turns out they are not so comfortable in space. Their metabolism changes, as do their microbiomes, and the worms more often divide asexually in space, one even regenerated into a two-headed beast, and the probability of such a mutation happening is normally extremely small. Moreover, after amputating both heads, the two-headed creature managed to regrow both of them anew. Judge for yourself the vitality of the flatworm. But are there any absolute champions in this matter of ultimate survival under harsh conditions? Yes, there are. They are quite slow-moving creatures. You may have heard of them. These 8-legged microscopic organisms are called water bears. and have tremendous endurance. If they, or their equivalent, were the only survivors on our planet, it could only become technically uninhabited through the flames of some diabolical astrophysical catastrophe. Barring that, they will survive. For these hardy creatures, it's the little things in life that matter. Favorable conditions for them generally consist of a wet environment, as they feed on algae and moss. If necessary, these tiny creatures can go into anabiosis, a kind of hibernation or suspended animation. They shrink, and already their bodies are quite small, only up to about 1.5 millimeters. They then draw in their limbs and turn into a sort of barrel shape with a wax-like coating. Their metabolism becomes 10,000 times slower, and their water content drops to 1%, and the strange creatures' bodies turn into an almost glass-like substance. In this state, they can survive almost any environment. They simply don't care. 68 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 years? No problem. Water bears can exist in liquid oxygen at minus 379.4 degrees for 8 hours, or in liquid helium at minus 422.6 degrees for 1.5 years. An hour in boiling water will kill most germs, but not these babies. They survive just fine. These survival champions could also exist on the most hostile planets. They can take pressures of up to 6,000 atmospheres, survive in hydrogen sulfide, and breathe in an atmosphere of pure carbon dioxide. Half of the individuals survive blasts of X-ray radiation at the equivalent of 1,000 times the fatal dose for a human. Even irradiation with ultraviolet rays in open space won't kill all of these amazingly resilient creatures. There were some water bears who passed even this particularly nasty test and came out of suspended animation and later gave birth to offspring. Naturally, these tenacious creatures are quite widespread on our planet. There are more than 1,000 different species that we know of, and each have adapted to different environmental conditions. Some live on the edges of craters of underwater volcanoes. Others survive at the bottom of the deepest places in our oceans. If there were a cosmic catastrophe that tore off the ozone layer from the Earth, these slow-moving water bears at the bottom of the ocean will survive, covered by water. So, what could happen to our planet that would kill even the water bears? One possibility would be a rise in the temperature of ocean water to the boiling point, but the amount of energy this would require is enormous. At our modern levels of production, the amount of energy that we produce would only be enough to boil the oceans after about 1 million years of continuous output. But there are astrophysical events that could do the trick. A collision with a large enough asteroid is one such event. A nearby, relatively speaking, supernova explosion would be another, or a powerful burst of gamma radiation from some proximate galactic event. Giant asteroids have occasionally collided with our planet throughout its cosmic history. However, according to the latest data, no more than 17 objects of suitable size, if we consider Pluto and Eris, exist today in our solar system. Fortunately, their orbits do not intersect with the Earth's, and these smaller asteroids simply do not have the destructive energy in the right amount. If we analyze the probabilities of collisions with the Earth of asteroids in the past, it turns out that the prospect of a giant asteroid colliding with the Earth that would be able to burn up everything down to the last microbe doesn't happen more than once per 100 quadrillion years. And this is longer than the age of the universe. So, in general, the probability of such a collision is exceedingly small. Things are a little more possible regarding supernova explosions. At the birth of supernovas, more energy is released than would be needed for boiling our terrestrial oceans. However, most of that energy is lost traveling over huge distances. A potential supernova star that would be dangerous for the Earth should be a maximum of about 0.013 light years away. The nearest star to our Sun is Proxima Centauri, and it's at a distance of 4.25 light years from us, and so is not suitable for the formation of a supernova which could wipe our planet clean. In the galactic center nature, there are far more stars, and the distances between them are much smaller. Fortunately.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna leave it there. If you wanna watch this, then you can. And if you want to react to it like I did, this is actually pretty cool. As you can see, here's my face. My face. Now, that was a pretty cool video, I would say. Check it out. It's just, the title is easy. It's just a creature that can't be killed. It's easy. Now, for anything like that to happen, it'll be a very, very long time. So yeah, don't worry. And I will be doing try not to laugh videos, which should be fun. Okay, bye. Bye-bye.